This is a Fleet Success Show, dedicated to helping you and your fleet succeed using the experience of fleet professionals and Hall of Fame fleet legends. The show that explores how the pillars of stakeholder satisfaction, intentional culture, resource efficiency, and risk management all combine to lead your fleet to success. We're glad you're here. Now, let's get into the show. Hey, welcome back for another episode of the Fleet Success Show with your hosts, Josh Turley, Marc Canton.
How you doing, Josh?
Good. Good to be back in the studio. We're very bright and festive today, I feel like.
Yeah, I like that shirt.
So I will tell you, we started a tradition here in the office, which is Hawaiian Shirt Fridays. Mm-hmm. I got to thank my good buddy Ryan for this.
Yeah.
He started this. He just does it on his own.
Yeah.
Because it's like a fun Feel Good Friday thing.
Yeah.
And the ET wasn't picking up the hint. So for Christmas, he bought us all our own Hawaiian shirts. And so now every Friday, it's Hawaiian Shirt Friday at the office. And so now if you see us in Hawaiian shirts, it's because we recorded on a Friday.
Exactly. So, you know what day of the week we recorded.
And I will tell you, I was telling everybody, like, I actually love this shirt.
Yes.
I look at it in my closet. I was like, oh, I want to wear that, but it's not Friday. And so I look forward to Friday just so I can wear this shirt because of how it fits.
I got to tell you, I told him this. I said, I got to find out where you bought that shirt. It's like the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn.
Sunday Swagger.
Sunday
look at
swagger.
that. We're going to sponsor. This is like our first promotion, unpaid promotion.
Come on, Sunday, give us a call.
I think it's called SundaySwagger.com.
I think that's what he said. It's awesome. So I'm like, I got to go over there and buy like 10 of them.
Yeah, that's a nice shirt. I like it. I like it a lot. So today, as just a little background on Marc and I. So I'm the CEO over here at RTA Fleet, 20 plus years serving, government fleets, trucking fleets, building and designing FMIS software for fleet managers. My background's in technology leadership. And so you're going to hear me talk a lot about that stuff. Change management is going to be a topic today. Marc, you've run public fleets. You've been at higher ed. You've run that. You've been a consultant. You've seen the data. You've done a lot of FMIS implementations.
Yes, sir.
You've been around the block 30 plus years in fleet.
Yep.
So we know a thing or two.
We'd like to think.
Yeah. At least we stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. So.
and I saved 15% on my insurance.
Your car insurance, yeah, right? It's so easy a fleet manager can do it. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is we talked to industry publications and things of that nature. We were specifically talking with some of the people over at Bobbit, and they said, one of the things that the industry struggles with, all these people have content, they're putting out stuff, and hey, here's why this FMIS is great, and here's why you should do this telematics solution. But the big question that usually doesn't get answered, right, on everybody's mind that doesn't get answered is why now, right? Like, where's the sense of urgency other than just how amazing things are or how it could be? And so what they usually stop with is, well, it sounds great, but I don't have the time, or I don't really need that right now, or they know they should do it, but it's just not important.
Right.
And so from your perspective, when you hear that, what are some of the things that kind of go through your mind, or what have you seen in the industry that kind of tells you, yeah, that sounds about right?
Kind of liken it to, and hopefully, the fleet folks will get this, right? Like, imagine you're trying to take a wheel off and you walk up to the lug and you try to turn that nut with your hand. Right. That's what not having a system is like, right? That's what not leveraging anything. You're literally just bootstrapping the darn organization and trying to force feed, make it work, right? You have no insight, no ability to capture, no efficiencies. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, and then you might grow a little bit. Maybe you get a wrench and you say, all right, I'm going to try to move this nut with a wrench. And, that might be something like using a little maintenance module on maybe your telematics or your ERP or your asset management tool, right? You get some help, but it's not really changing the game for you in the operation. And then maybe there's some things in between there, like a ratchet. It's when hey, it's much more efficient. I can get a lot more done. You get the big bars that come in your. I keep messing up this word. What's it called? The crowbar with the.
Like a breaker bar or something like that.
Breaker bar,
torque wrench. Yeah.
And now, okay, you can get on that thing, and if you're a big guy like us, you jump on it, and it's going. It's great, right? But then you get to this point, and you're trying to move faster. You're trying to be better, and you could get an air gun, right? And now the air gun, boop, done, right? That same process that took you a really long time, especially if you're on a big truck with 8 or 12 lugs, right? You're in seconds. You literally have that. You have that wheel off, right? Now, you made the point, I had brought up this analogy once before, and you made a great point. The difference between that is now you got this really great tool that's going to help you and it's going to be efficient, but it does take some investment, right? You need
you got to have a compressor,
right? You got to have electricity. You got to have a place to put all this stuff.
You got to run air hoses.
Right, exactly. Yep. So that's kind of, my feeling, and we'll get a little bit more into that. Most folks don't do it, whether it's fear of change, out of habit. You hear all kinds of reasons for it, but I think part of it is really stepping back and appreciating what a change this is going to make in your organization and truly transform your organization. Let's start with, if you don't have anything at all, just go get something, right? Like,
as far as like an FMIS.
FMIS, right? Like, whether it's us, a competitor, like, I'm here to tell you, you need an FMIS system.
And FMIS stands for Fleet Management Information System, right? NAFA would call it a Fleet Information Management System.
Yeah, they would reverse the I and the M there.
I've got opinions on that, but we call it an FMIS. It's my computer information systems background coming through. But,
exactly.
So Fleet Management Information System. So if they don't have anything right now, paper, they're putting stuff in file cabinets.
Right.
That could be you, right? And I feel sorry and feel bad for you.
That's still you.
That's the equivalent of you're walking up to that lug and trying to loosen it by hand.
Right.
Eventually, you'll get it, but your fingers won't work anymore. They'll actually be quite raw. You might be down to the bone. I don't know, but it's very difficult. It's hard to get anything out of it. You're definitely not doing anything from an efficiency standpoint.
Right. Exactly.
And so our take is, at least get something.
Get something, right? At least put a wrench in your hand, right? Yeah. Or a little more than that, because a wrench, that's maybe like, oh, look at this beautiful spreadsheet I built in Excel or Google or something like that. And now you can track some things. And
probably the better example would be like a lug wrench, like a tire iron.
Yeah.
I can do 4 different types of lugs with that, but that's it. Yeah. Like you've now reached the limit of what that can do.
Exactly. And it's only going to get you so far. And it's ultimately still utterly manual, right? Any insights, any process improvements or efficiencies that might be gained from using the software, they don't exist. It's just a different place to put the information, right? Other than writing it on a pen and paper, essentially, right? So, that's kind of what that is, right? And maybe that ratchet set, and we'll get more into this, but that might be that module. If someone convinces you, oh yeah, we're this routing software or we're a telematics software and
we're SAP.
We're SAP.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Munis. Go use our deal, right? Like a municipal ERP type thing.
Yeah, exactly. And we get it. People use it, and yes, tracking something in there is better than pen and paper. Like there's no question there. But again, you still don't have a purpose-built software for your trade, for your function, for your, industry. And if you think about it, like it's in 2025, what profession does not have a purpose-built software for the work that they do every day, right? And so there's a lot that comes with that, right? We're very proud of our BHAG numbers. We've talked about it before. Won't get into too much detail, but, we can prove we've saved you a lot of time and a lot of money and a bunch of trees too, by using our software, because we can prove how it speeds things up for you, essentially, right? And that's true. I mean, it's simply true. Now, when you get a purpose-built software, those softwares are in any industry, right? They understand what the work of that profession is, let's say, right? And for those that have been around a while, like we've been over 40 years, and there are others, right? It's not only about us. There are insights, almost, let's say, embedded into the software of how best to do things, right? Because we've been there, we've done that, we've worked with thousands upon thousands of customers. So especially if you're new or newer, or you're trying to, let's say, up-level your organization, right? You want that there, right? That's not coming in the beautiful. You could be the best Excel writer on the planet, right? And I've seen it. I've seen people who are so good at Excel, right? Where it's basically software, But most fleet managers and their IT departments don't have those skills. And even if they do, they don't have the bandwidth. And even if they do, I don't think it's tenable, right? It's not sustainable long term, right? It's going to break. It's, and you can talk better about that than me, right?
Yeah, and that's usually what we've seen is, this one guy wrote us this Access database application.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a good example.
Access, or Excel or whatever. But he retired 5 years ago, and nobody knows how to make this thing work.
Right, exactly.
No, that's not a sustainable solution. You need something that's purpose-built. And, and any of the big ones, if you're in a municipal fleet, it's us, Faster, Asset Works.
Right.
Not in that order. It's just, like you find what fits for you. But we're all 40 some odd year old companies who've been doing this a long time with lots of customers in your space. And it's going to teach you how to run a fleet in addition to doing the job itself.
Exactly. There are literally cues within the software on how to get better at doing your work, right? Yeah. So I think that's, a really key piece to understand, and that's when you start talking about, that air gun, right? And obviously, when you look at that air gun technology has even changed quite a bit over the years, right? There used to be these big, massive, heavy things that, you were two hands and down on one knee, right? And now you're seeing very similar torque in things that, my 14-year-old can hold, right? Kind of a thing. So, there's obviously even differences within the air guns, right? And you got to find the one that's really best for you. Nonetheless, you need to be at air gun.
Yeah. Right? But, and now this is coming out as, hey, let's go electric impact. Right? And now there's everything's going electric these days.
Yes.
We're going to find an electric FMIS.
Right.
But I think that's, you look at those type of things, and you'll compare, Craftsman to Milwaukee to, whatever other stuff. And the idea, the Ingersoll Rand, the idea is you try to find the one that fits for you, that, works in your application. Well, we don't do any, 1-inch stuff or 3/4 inch stuff. It's all 1/2 inch. You find what you need.
Perfectly great. Right? Great analogy. Yeah, exactly. What's the one, and you'll see that, right? You'll see that different ones designed to work with, let's say, ranges of sizes and yeah, exactly right. That's exactly it. And the same is true within the software, right? As you point out, at its core, especially some of those competitors you mentioned, we have a lot in common, right? But what you need to look for are, what's around the edges there, right? What are my precise needs? What are the things I'm focused on that maybe this software does a little better?
Yeah.
Right?
What do I want out of the company itself? Not just the software.
You just read my mind. Yes.
Because I think that's something else. I remember this is back before Craftsman got bought out, but one of my favorite things about buying Craftsman tools was, even if they broke, I would just go down to Sears and I get a new one.
Right.
Like, that lifetime guarantee meant something,
right.
And the company stood behind it.
Right.
And then they sold out and it was a completely different company. But the idea behind that was, I knew what I was getting. And even if it wasn't the best tool, right? It wasn't a Snap-on. It wasn't, one of the other brands, but I knew what I was getting and it worked. And it worked really well. Yes. The same thing's true for an FMIS, is you really do need to understand, what's the company about? What are their long-term plans? Right. How are they going to help me in my job, right? With my job to be done? Because it does go beyond just the software. We're not a lug wrench. We're not a tire iron. Right. We are, we're the whole system, right? We are the compressor to the impact, and we're going to make sure that you lay that out right, and you don't try to wire that up to the wrong type of outlet, and what's the right way to route the hose so that it works best. And
right.
It's a great companies will do that for you, whereas the other ones are like, here's the stuff, good luck.
Exactly right. And then you need to know where are you on your, let's say your maturity, journey. If you got all the resources in the world and you have 12 seasoned system administrators, right, you're going to have a different set of needs than someone who can't even afford one or can't find one on the market, right? Those sorts of things. Do you need, SMEs? One of the things we're very proud of is, we have a whole army, frankly, of, really seasoned professionals, award-winning professionals, Hall of Fame professionals who can come in. And we don't only then teach you your system, we help you manage your fleet. How do I leverage this system and how do I manage my fleet better, right? Some companies, that's not what they're selling. That's not what they do, right? To your point. So, what do you need? What is that balance, right? It's everything, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the analogy I had in my head. I figured, it's like it really, I think, works if you think about it.
Well, and coming back to the original question, which is why now?
Yeah, why now?
Why do I need to do this now? Why is this important, right? Because the alternative is you just wait. And it's usually some type of objection, like there's something in your head that's causing you not to want to do this. And you're not recognizing the benefit of, hey, I know I could go and upgrade and go get myself an air gun, but I really just want to keep loosening these by hand. And that's honestly, we put it in those terms because we want you to see how silly it sounds when we talk to people that don't have any system at all. They're like, I know, but it's going to take too much time. And I was like, really?
Yeah.
How much time are you wasting doing everything manually with pen and paper?
Right.
That's the exact same analogy. You're choosing to loosen that lug by hand right now. That's how.
Yeah. How many vehicles are you getting done that day? How many cars are you rotating their tires that day versus with the gun?
So the answer is, trust me, you do have time. You just need to stop spending it on that stuff, right? Reallocate
exactly.
But let's say, okay, well, now what do I want to go do? Do I just upgrade myself and go get that ratchet set and then start there? Yes, but we would just tell you to be mindful of limitations. You'll get to a point where it won't work or it'll break and it's not a great solution. We, invest. Spend the time on yourself and invest in yourself so that you can get that time back later.
Right.
We've shown, and I know the other competitors can do the same thing. I don't know if they can show it the same way we do, but the principles are all there. Is we are literally saving years. I think right now the latest stats that we've shown is as of today. What is today? Mid-January. We have saved 876 years since I took over the company in 2017.
Exactly. That's the number.
Now, if you go back to 1979, like that number goes,
it goes out
we
the
were
roof.
measuring it. But since 2017.
But mid-July 2017. Yes.
We've saved 876 years in 7 years of time.
In 7 years of time.
And so a good system will do that.
Yeah.
Right. Just think about how much time you're spending loosening that lug by hand and now hit it with an impact and see how fast that goes.
Exactly. And that's how you really have to think about this.
Yeah. So what else? Why else would people say, nah, I don't really want to implement an FMIS right now?
Yeah. And this is like all going to fall under this theme of something you've said a lot on this show, but it really fits is work on the business, not in the business. Right. And this really falls into that. So you hear that, right? And you hear things like, so you have the timepiece. It's going to be too difficult. Well, why is it going to be too difficult? And then you kind of get a subset of
my technicians will never use this.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, well, that's what training programs are for. And once you can, they're a stakeholder, and once you can show them the value add, to their work, right? They'll change. Will it be slow going at first? Sometimes. For some folks, human beings, we resist change. The key is displaying and emphasizing and showing, hey, this is the value you get out of it.
What you don't want to do is put the impact in their hand and not hook it up to air.
Right.
Because I've seen people do this. This is the allegory, right? But hey, here's this tool, and we don't give you the training, and then we don't supply it with what it needs, and now they're sitting there. So instead of loosening that lug by hand, now they're trying to loosen it. And they're using the impact like a ratchet, but that's not working, and so they're just using the socket by hand.
Right.
That gives them a little more torque, but it's still not super effective.
Right.
And they're like, this thing's a piece of junk, and they get rid of it. And it's like, well, but you never hooked up the air.
Right.
You got all the stuff, and you never did the next step.
And you never did it. Right. It's a good point. Implementation is key, and that's implementation. Training is obviously a part of that. Configuring the system, getting it ready to go so that it's exactly what you need.
But I think when you do that, if you can show them what it looks like when it is working.
Right.
If you can show them what's in it for them. Every time I have a problem with change management, it always comes back to we didn't do a good job with what I call with them. Right? What's in it for me?
Right.
If we don't do a good job communicating with them, we're going to fail.
Right.
And so we really have to, in order to get their buy-in, we have to hear from them. We have to talk through it. And we really have to get clear about what's in it for them.
Right.
And so for like at FMIS, we could be, well, you're going to get better, it's going to do a better job taking notes. So the next time that vehicle comes back in, you're going to remember that.
Right. You're going to track your time.
You're going to track your time. You hit a button. Right? You click a button and you're done.
You go.
You don't have to sit there and try to remember it or write it down on a sheet of paper.
Right.
It's click and click. Right.
It's exactly what parts you issued or you requested. You're going to be able to find that instead of sitting in a book or in some other.
It's going to show you what parts you need.
Right.
If they're in stock already, you can request them, and the parts guy will bring it to your bay.
What's the part I used last time on this vehicle? Right. When I had this problem. Right. These are all kinds of things that, I'm confident many systems do, but we certainly do, right? That's exactly it, And what you're getting at here is, look, as much as possible, go with the carrot, right? Show them what's in it for them. We will hear fleet managers, well, I had to go with the stick, right? Because, and we get that to a degree. Obviously, a little bit of a balance of that. Most psychological studies show mostly carrot with a little bit of stick is kind of the way to go.
Call it being a good parent. Yeah. You can't use sticks anymore. They don't like that.
Yeah. We're out in the desert.
Awkward.
But I think that's a really big key. Show them what's in it for them. How's it going to make their life easier, et cetera, et cetera. And maybe, just maybe, if you have built a good culture and, your techs and other staff for that matter appreciate sort of thinking about the organization as a whole, which I think there are many fleets out there who can say that. You can also show them what's in it for the organization, right? How does it win, right? Hey, by doing this and using this properly, you're going to give me the things I need to better ask for another mechanic or another bay or air conditioning in my shop.
We're going to be able to show how much value you guys are creating so that I can go and fight for wages and fight for raises because of what you guys are doing.
Exactly.
Right. Like this, you're going to arm me with information, and information is how we're going to win.
Exactly.
So that's a great whiff 'em.
Yeah,
right.
It really is.
What other obstacles? Like what are other things that people are going to say, I don't want to do that right now?
Because no one goes to school for fleet management, chances are you were never formally trained on how to successfully lead a fleet. That's where the Fleet Success Playbook comes in. The Fleet Success Playbook is your guide to building a safe, reliable, and efficient fleet that provides exceptional service. Learn all about the 4 pillars of fleet success: stakeholder satisfaction, intentional culture, resource efficiency, and risk management. Get nearly 100 years of combined advice on common challenges, practical solutions, actionable tips, and real examples from fleet industry experts who have been there and done that. Visit www.fleetsuccessplaybook.com to request your free copy today.
Well, there's a few. The one that kind of makes me want to bang my head against the wall just a little is when they say, well, it's just going to be so hard to convert and clean all that data. And I just want to pull my hair out wait a minute, folks. If what's stopping you from either getting a system or changing a system is you're concerned about the quality of your data, it's crazy, right? It's like,
I don't know. All my stuff that's etched on stone tablets, I don't know if that's going to work anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We're going to be, oh my goodness.
That's actually double, the triple, quadruple, 100 times more the reason you need to do it, because that's the best and fastest way to help you solve your data problems. So I cannot stress that enough to you, right? If you are worried about your data, if you think you have bad data, you need to get on the fast train here, get into a new system. And frankly, sometimes you just need to let go of old data. That's bad, right?
Yeah, we've gone through that a couple of times.
Yeah.
We had a client that they're insistent. They wanted to bring over all these old work orders that 5 fleet managers of history, that all with different standards and different coding methodologies and all this.
To the
and
60s and 70s.
And they're like, why isn't this making sense? Why don't these reports match up? And, they blame the old system. And then they brought all that crappy data in our system. And they're like, it's no better. And we're like, well, no, it's no better because you brought the data over. We told you not to do that.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. And so there's ways to go through. You can clean it up. Don't bring it over, roll it up and summarize it. We like to do that kind of stuff all the time. But ultimately, okay, so maybe you don't have time to go through and clean up the data. You don't want to bring all that garbage data over. You don't have the time to do it. We've said it on this podcast before. One of my favorite principles from a guy named Dan Martell, who wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time, is buyback principle, right? And the buyback principle is this: 80% done by somebody else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And so even if okay, I'm going to outsource it, they don't know my fleet, they don't know this, they're going to get 80% of the way there. Right. Now, I'll tell you, the best ones will get 110% of the way there. They're actually going to do a better job than you would.
Right.
And it's not going to be that much more expensive because they're going to do it faster than you would have.
Because they're dedicated to it.
Because they're dedicated
and they're
to
experienced in doing it.
Yes.
Right.
You're paying, it's like paying that electrician. Yeah, it's going to cost you $1,000 to have them come out, wire it all up, but it's going to be done right. It's going to be done the first time versus you're going to sit there and try to do it. And then you're going to cause a fire. And then you got to go back to Home Depot 50 times because you didn't get the right part. And now all of a sudden you're like, crap, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, you're right. You should have just paid the professional.
Right. Exactly.
So if you really don't have the time, and you probably don't, you're right. Then pay a professional, have them help you clean your data. So you do have a good clean start and you can start getting insights from your system right away instead of waiting for years for that old data to kind of make its way out.
Exactly. And I'm jumping ahead here, but if you're doing a bid, that's a great time. Include it in the bid, right? Yeah. You'll get quoted on it. Don't get me wrong. Implementation was organizing data, pulling it in, maybe some level of cleaning. But if you think you need that deep dive, like Josh is saying, pay for it, get it in the bid. Now's the time. It's a one-time thing. You get it clean, and now you're good to go.
But make sure that it's an expert.
Yes, right? That's the key.
Because what you don't want,
especially in our industry,
exactly. Yeah. What you don't want is some junior data analyst getting in there who has no idea about fleet,
right?
Or it's some rookie CS person, right? Customer service person. And we've seen that. Yes. We've had people try to do that here, and it's like, no, this ain't working. So we go out and we hire the professionals,
right? And
we bring them into the company. We're like, this is what we want you to do, and they're like, got it.
Yeah.
But check the resumes. So who's going to be doing that?
You
work?
have to, and listen, we acknowledge this is hard to find, right? Finding legitimate data analysts, easy in today's professional world. Finding legitimate data analysts who have spent a nice chunk of time focused on fleet analytics, much, much more difficult. Yes, yeah, and we get that. But they do exist.
We happen to have 3 of them.
We happen to have probably 3 in best
and change. We got more, yeah.
Yeah, we got more,
at least 3. 3
Yes.
dedicated analysts.
Yes,
How about that?
yes, and they're probably among the top 3 in the country. So
We love you guys.
but in any event, you got to go down that route, right? You got to get that done. So that's a common one. That's the one that's like, okay, I get it. I understand it's overwhelming. I do understand it. In all seriousness, I understand it's scary. I empathize because you do an export and you get thousands of rows and thousands of columns. But there's help out there. Don't let that be a hindrance. In fact, that should be a motivator. But I kind of forecasted the other thing I think I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do too. But people they don't want to go through the bid process, right? And more often than not, depends on the type of organization you are. But if you're going to spend over a certain amount of money, right, you have to do a formal RFP or some sort of bid process, and that intimidates folks because all they see and hear is more work, right? I got to figure out all the specifications I need, and then. And then we got to put it out, and then I got to evaluate it and watch,
Well, and that taps into another obstacle usually, which is I don't even know where to start. There's too many options to go through. And so you do an RFP, and now you've got to evaluate all these guys. Right. And, oh, man, that means demos, and that means sitting there looking at pricing, and that means this. And at some point, you're like psychologically, you just shut down because you have, analysis paralysis.
Right.
And so you decide, you know what? Forget it.
Yeah.
And you make no decision.
Yeah.
Not realizing you actually just made a decision, which was no decision. You choose to continue loosening the lug by hand.
Yes. Fundamentally. That's
I had a post last week about choose your hard. This is that moment.
Yeah.
You get to choose your hard. You can keep doing it by hand, or you can invest in the air tool.
Yeah.
So going through the RFP process itself is a bit of choosing your hard.
Yes.
It's not a terrible hard, but there are ways to make that less hard.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Going on Sourcewell, NASBO,
Yep.
buy boards, things of that nature. If you've got a statewide contract, purchasing off of that.
Very simple.
And that is a way to kind of, somebody else has already done a lot of legwork for you.
Yeah.
And they've done the evaluations, and this is the one they picked. So, you're going off some trust.
Yep. And honestly, between those couple of options, 99.99% of the people should be able to find a solution out there. But even then, piggyback your neighbor, if you're a county, piggyback the county next door to you. That there's just so many ways that you can get it done, and it just the thing is that I think there's an underlying unspoken gorilla in the room there maybe, and people don't say this one to me as much, but I think it's there. There's also a little bit of a fear of sort of exposing yourself, right? Because as part of that process or part of any big buying process, right? If you need help, if you can't do it all yourself, and we keep saying a lot of what we're saying is rooted in go get some help, right? Let your procurement department help you, and or let the data. But to do that, you got to be an open book, right? And I think that's also embedded. What are we going to find out that maybe I don't know, or maybe I don't want people to find out.
I don't want to know.
Right.
Let's keep those skeletons hidden in the closet, Marc.
Yes, exactly.
If we're going to start measuring this, we're going to realize how bad our productivity really is, and I don't want to do that. So there could be totally like an avoidance of truth.
Yes.
And I don't want to face it, so I'm going to stay in the Stone Age.
Yeah. I think that's there a bit. That one's tough. You got to have some confidence. You got to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day, and the number one. Maybe some of that is on you, and maybe some of it isn't. But by bringing it out and bringing it to the forefront, that's actually step one in doing something about it, right? And improving.
The first step in the process is admitting there's a problem, or something like that.
Exactly. Right? So I do think that's in there quite a bit, if I could be honest. And I think that probably goes beyond just FMIS systems. But to your point, the data is the great gigantic closet. It's the closet and the attic and the crawl space in the basement all built into one. Everything is there, right? So that's another one that you hear. Well,
and I think you hit on one. One side of that is I don't want to unbury the skeletons, right? The other side is I don't want to look like a fool,
right?
And going back to analysis paralysis, there's also some egos like, what happens if I pick the wrong one?
Well, yes,
and so now there's a fear of failure of. There's so many options and I don't really want to pick the wrong one. So again, I just kind of shut down and go back to nothing.
Right.
But nothing, I think you have to, in order to get through that, you have to recognize nothing is a choice and that is the wrong one.
Right.
Like 100% that's the wrong one. Any of these three solutions would have been better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so if you can reframe your decision making that way, that's a great way to get over that mental hurdle of getting off the couch and getting into the game.
Yeah. Right. And again, we don't love that excuse. We'll certainly, if you request it, we'll give you a test system. We have at least one competitor who will let you get a couple of users for free. You can test theirs. I'm sure at least a handful of our other competitors would do the same thing like us and give a test system. So that's one way, get in there for a few weeks, a month. Do a pilot is another one. And then even beyond that, like, frankly, we generally like to focus on at least a year, right? Because we think that's how long it's, between your implementation and so forth. We want to make sure you've given yourself time to get value out of it. And I'm willing to bet that most of our competitors are similar. There might be few that go month to month, what's the worst case scenario, right? You picked one and it was the wrong one for you. Think about how much you will have learned from that. Right? Yeah. First off, if you can identify and say, you know what, I picked the wrong one, embedded in that means, right? Now what you need.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least what you don't need. And you can start filtering them out.
And you can start identifying. Now all of a sudden you're really well positioned for the next time you make that buy.
Yeah.
So
which just happens to be right now because you picked the wrong one. So
exactly.
You don't have to stay committed to it. Well, and that's something, as you're thinking about evaluating different options, is the type of subscription or the type of license you're buying.
Right.
If you're buying a perpetual license, that could be a more significant upfront investment.
Right.
Versus a SaaS license like we sell, which, we've tried to shift the risk from the consumer back to us.
Right.
And so it's up to us to make sure that we're providing value every year. And if we're not, then you kick us out and rip us out and you
move on.
It's like it's sunk cost at that point.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep committing to a system that doesn't work for you just because you spent $1 million on it instead of 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me dovetail that a bit too, because we've really taken back a lot of the risks. Will we sell you implementation programs that include things like on-site training and so forth? Yeah, we will, because what we have found is many customers want that. So we're more, but to your point, we offer free monthly online training, right? So you could we've taken back so much of that, right? You can do that. You can go through that process. You can buy it.
And frankly, and I don't know about other competitors. I don't know what their policy is. But if you're not happy 3 months in, I don't want to make this keep going.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened often. I think I might have done one in the past 5 years. We'll refund it.
Yeah.
Now
I've seen, I was here for the one and I've seen him do it. He's not BSing. I've seen him refund someone. So,
yeah. And it's obviously like, we'll look at all things like, oh, did we send a trainer out or something like that? So It might be prorated or less services rendered kind of a thing. But we absolutely, we don't want to end this we don't want you out there bad mouthing us. Right. So let's make this right.
Yeah. We would rather you be happy and say, you know what, this wasn't the right fit. We acknowledge, by the way, we know we're not the perfect fit for every fleet organization out there. We'd like to think that we're a great fit for a great many, if not the majority.
Well, specifically like municipals for sure.
Certainly
K-12, any public agency, we're big on that. But we really do try to be clear about who we're fit for, who we're not. If you're not doing in-house maintenance, there's 2 or 3 competitors I'd recommend that are not us.
Right.
If you are doing in-house maintenance, there's 2 or 3 competitors that say, look at us, but then also go look at these ones.
Yeah. And I've seen you do that.
Eyes wide open.
We coach our sales folks to do that. Hopefully other folks in the industry are doing similar things. I know a lot of folks from various, competitors, and, I can spout off one-offs from those companies who might do something like that. But what are we getting at here? The point is, it's not about us. We're not trying to sell you our system. Fleet 360, we believe, is a great system. But what we're trying to say is there's someone out there who fits all of these concerns that you have, and that you can make it work. So don't let, to your point, right? No paralysis by analysis, right? Don't let fear be the blocker here. It is just not reason for it. Someone out there fits your needs.
Yep.
Go get this system, and in the long run, you're going to save yourself a lot of time and money.
And if you're still not sure, talk to your peers.
Yes,
because they use these systems.
Yes,
go see it in action.
Right.
See how they're using it.
Yep.
And
get demos, obviously. But get as many as you can. Get on YouTube. Right.
So still going back to this, why now? I know I can go through the whole process and do all that stuff, but why couldn't I wait? Next year feels like a much better time to go implement this.
Yeah.
I'm busy right now. So why is this urgent? What's the urgency for people? If we could wake them up and be like, hey, you have to do something.
Right.
What's the statement that we say to people to get them to snap out of the stupor?
I think that's a good question. I'm trying to summarize it in one sentence, but we're kind of saying it why now is because, when are you going to have time? right? You don't have time today. Do you think you're going to have more time tomorrow? I don't know about you, but in my life, I get busier. I don't get less busy. I don't all of a sudden have time I didn't have. I haven't retired yet. Maybe one day I will feel that way, right? And ultimately, the answer for why now is because in every moment that goes by that you haven't done it, again, you're actually costing yourself time and money. Again, this analogy, right? Think about how long that nut is going to take you to undo by hand. It's going to, if you can undo it, right? So you're actually burning money. You would literally be better off be putting money in a fire pit, right? And cells off of your life, right? Like by waiting. So I don't know how else to say it. The answer why now is because it's stop wasting your time. Time is the most precious resource we have in life. That's something you say, well, stop wasting it.
You can always make more money. You can never make more time.
Exactly,
right? And I think, as you say, like burning money and all that, but what you're really doing is you're delaying the reward.
Yeah. Well, that's,
let's say that, okay, so you're going to install it next year, right? But like the reward that comes from doing the work, you're just putting off the reward of it. Yeah, right. You're putting off the pain, but on the other side of that pain, we like to say everything great is on the other side of hard.
Right.
Right. You put off that, pain. That means you're also putting off the gratification of having the system.
Great point. All the things you're going to achieve. Right.
We talk about, the amount of money you're saving. And so you're saying, well, like, hey, you're literally burning money. But it also is like, there's a side when you get to the other side of that where it's less stress and it's more peaceful, and like there's more work, sure, but you have better insights, better confidence. We used to talk about all the time, the mission at RTA before we got really clear. It was like, no, our purpose is to help fleet succeed. We had another mission statement, which was, we wanted to bring clarity, confidence, and peace of mind to fleet managers. And that's what you're putting off. If you're not doing it now,
that's a great point.
You are literally putting off clarity. You're putting off confidence and you're putting off your own peace of mind. Yeah. I don't know. Is that worth it in any world? No. And we keep saying this, like, you don't have to go pick us. I'm not telling you to go pick us. Right. I'd love to give you a demo,
Yeah.
But
yeah. We hope you love us, but
just go find something.
Yes. Go get something. You make this great point. The confidence is a piece, right? Maybe our audience can relate to this. You get your boss calls you or someone important. Hey, Marc, I don't know. How many vehicles are due for replacement next year? Just to pick something, I don't know. Yeah. And, I remember having I'll get back to you, that one, this one. Okay. This one.
Carry the one, right? Like move that cell to this cell, put this in Excel. Yeah.
Right. Or hold on a second, Josh. Yeah, we got 86 to do.
Yeah.
Done. I mean,
and you want to know which ones and how much it's going to cost you?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me dump this out to an Excel sheet for you. And here you go.
22% of those are backlogged. The rest are on time.
Yeah, here's the status for each one of them.
Correct. This is how many years on average we're behind. Geez, man, like the peace of mind, the confidence, the lack of stress, I guess is what I'm going for here, right? The stress reduction that you're going to get out of having that insight and having that information available at on your fingertips, essentially. Man, I don't know how you put a dollar on that. Like it's serious. That's how transformative. Especially if you're going from none to a modern system, that's how transformative it is.
Now let's take this from a different angle. Maybe you are using one.
Okay.
But maybe you're not happy with the support. You're not happy with your fees. You feel like you're paying too much. Mm-hmm. Right. It's still work to go through, and there's hidden cost as you go through and try to implement or switch systems. Right. But again, the same thing holds true.
It does. It really does.
If you don't feel confident, if you don't have clarity, if you don't have peace of mind, why wait?
Yeah. Exactly.
If you know you need to make a change or you feel like you should make a change, then evaluate and make the change.
Exactly.
Like good old Michael Jackson used to say, just take a look at yourself and make the change.
Yeah, can't say it any better than that. That's exactly it.
I feel like we should end on that note.
All right. Sounds good.
Take a look at yourself, make the change. Talk about the man in the mirror.
Have a good one, everybody.
With that, that's going to do it for us. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on LinkedIn or leave a review. Want to learn more about our fleet management software, Fleet 360? Check us out at rtafleet.com. If you want to learn more about having your fleet evaluated by our consulting team, go to fleetconsulting.com.